the federal government, state governments, local governments, and NGOs are promoting homosexuality among kids. Obviously true to me. They didn't have Pride Week.
Into any
Pride Month.
That to me is not the same thing as indoctrination.
People want to believe that trans people are pretenders. My 12-year-old daughter's got to go in there and see some guy's junk. You know, like that's what they always say, right?
A matter of fact, the Ukrainian military has sold those weapons on the black market.
You cannot substantiate a claim on the basis of mere suspicion. That because
it's
they're
not mere suspicion.
Hold on a
I
second.
know someone who bought some of the weapons.
I believe.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we are going to be watching Tucker Carlson debate Chris Cuomo about LGBTQ stuff, trans stuff, and also make some very startling claims about what's really going on with the Ukraine war. Now, you guys may have noticed recently that people like Gavin Newsom and Chris Cuomo are trying to act like normal human beings again, or what they think is a normal human being, because they're seeing the cultural and political pendulum swing to the right. I mean, Chris Cuomo was one of the first ones to catch on to this when he got fired from CNN and when he aligned himself with valuetainment, etc. And we just saw Gavin Newsom interview Charlie Kirk and try to take a few moderate stances. And this interview just seems like another example of one of these leftoids trying to act like they're just reasonable and compassionate. So in this video, we are going to go through why that is just crap. So with that, let's get on to the first bit.
The idea that the government should be involved in people's sex lives is a shocking concept to me. I don't think it should be.
Me either.
And they're promoting homosexuality, promoting it. And I'll tell you how we know that they're promoting it, because its incidence has risen dramatically. Now, when I was a young man, there was a debate over what percentage of the population is gay. I was never anti-gay, for the record, and I'm not now. But it's an interesting question. They would say, you're born that way. You're born gay. So you cannot criticize someone on the basis of his immutable characteristics. Great. I totally agree with that. But then we saw the absolute incidence of self-reported homosexuality like triple. So clearly people aren't born that way. You know, 30% of 8th graders were born gay? No, that's not true. And so there's been this dramatic rise that none of us are allowed to notice. It's like, you can't notice that. Well, why? Okay. Yes, I can. And I'm sort of thunderstruck by it. Like, what is that? And it clearly is a manifestation of the deeper truth, which is maybe some people are born gay, but people can also be moved towards self-identifying as gay. And that's exactly what's happened. So anyway, so like, I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good. And I also don't understand why the government should be taking my tax dollars to convince people that certain forms of sex are better than others, particularly non-procreative sex. Like, what the hell is that?
Well, look, it's an easy legal and moral backstop that government should not be in the business of type. Okay, that's easy. There's plenty of things that government should be doing that isn't necessary. I believe that is an extension to how people choose their own bodies and how they use them. I believe in reproductive rights. I think it is a right. However, I see gay acceptance a little differently. The difference of a generation from our kids to us is it's much safer to say that you're gay now than it was. You used to get beat up. You used to get ostracized. You used to get excluded. That happens less now. It still happens, but it happens less. Is there also a cultural formation that we see, like in America? Everything goes in these big swings in different directions, always reaction formation. Are we more gay friendly in our culture, aggressively so, assertively so, than we were when we were growing up? Yes. Can that make it more attractive to young people who are struggling and trying to figure themselves out? Maybe. And that's why I remember when I was in college, there were a lot of people who were gay in college who weren't gay afterwards. Now, a lot of them were gay in college and gay afterwards, but I think there's something to experimenting and certain people play out with identity.
So it's like, okay, but I just want to get to like the core question, which is, where does this come from, being gay? Is it inborn? We were told you're born that way. Okay, so where's the gene? There isn't one. So,
I don't know the genetics, but I do believe.
No one has isolated a gene.
But you haven't noticed when you were raising your kids that there would be certain kids that you were like, I think this kid's going to be gay.
100%. Oh, yes,
but
absolutely.
Like where they were too young to be mimicking it.
I absolutely did notice that. And so I'm not saying there's not a genetic component. I'm just saying, and I don't know the answer, is the truth. But what I do know is if you've got a third of middle schoolers saying, I'm not heterosexual, that's not...
Plays to a fad.
That's not
more than
inborn.
it does.
That's not inborn at all.
I think that there's two things can be true. You can have that it's easier to be accepted today. I'm not saying that it's the same. I still believe that when people are gay, it's like the main descriptor of them, whereas you and I don't identify, oh, Tucker Carlson, you know him, straight guy, but when you're gay, you still get labeled that way. But I think two things can be happening at the same time, that there is a culture of persuasion in, let's say, in a guided or misguided sense of acceptance. And I think it is safer for people to come out now than it was a generation ago.
Yes, well, both are true. But I guess the point I'm making is it's really clear that the federal government, state governments, local governments, and NGOs are promoting homosexuality among kids. Obviously true to me, and transgenderism among kids. And my point is that is not acceptable. And when I was a child, if an adult went up to a kid in a park and started talking to him about his sex slave, you could shoot the guy, because that's not acceptable to talk to other people's children about sex, period. And now it's not only acceptable, it's the rule, and it's paid for by my tax dollars. And I'm just saying, like, that's really destructive.
Look, it is a very persuasive argument. I don't know. It certainly hasn't been my experience in my kids' schools, public and private, that I felt that they were being indoctrinated.
They didn't have Pride Week
into anything.
Or Pride Month or Pride celebrations.
I don't remember it specifically, but even if they did, let's say they did. I can't prove that right now, but let's say they did. That to me is not the same thing as indoctrination.
So this is a topic that I've thought a fair bit about, the nature versus nurture argument. And like Tucker, I don't know the answer to this. However, I was reading Douglas Murray's book, War on the West, and he, a gay man, was talking about how there actually is no scientific evidence to suggest with any sort of authority that homosexuality is biologically determined. And I personally have never heard a good argument for it either. To the contrary, though, there are definitely correlations at the very least with homosexuality and with environmental influences, such as distant relationships with the father, single mother households, childhood trauma, social and cultural attitudes towards these behaviors in your environment. There's a phenomenon where men go to prison and become homosexuals over time.
Dudes go in there, tough. And after about a week, the first couple of days, right, they're holding the belt loop. Next thing you know, they got Kool-Aid on their lips. Next thing you know, they got marker on their fingernails. Next thing you know, they tying their shirt up and they switch it.
There's social trends, social media, etc., and also religious norms. And also, what we do know is that the brain is most plastic up until the age of 5. So even with Cuomo's argument here that there are obviously some very young people who seem to be clearly gay, it seems reasonable to suggest that that could have happened in those very early developmental years. The same time when they're learning sensory and cognitive development, motor skills, language, and also social, emotional, moral, and ethical development. But the reason why this is important is because it kind of gets to a very significant issue or significant talking point on the left, which is gender and sexuality fluid? Or is it biological? Because if you're going to cry from the hilltops and say trans people and gay people are just born this way and we need to adjust our lives and adjust the law to accommodate them, if you're going to say that and if you're going to die on that hill, then you can't turn around in the next sentence and say, I'm gender non-binary or I'm pansexual. I mean, is gender and sexuality fluid? And can we just be what we choose to be on any particular day? Or is it biological? You really can't have both. Anyway, let's finish off this exchange. Before we get there, guys, don't forget to smash that like button as hard as you possibly can and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
I have no problem with adults and children being exposed to different belief systems and different ways and different cultures. I have no problem with tolerance. Now, indoctrination is a different word.
Well, pride is not tolerance. Pride is the opposite of tolerance. Pride is a celebration.
Right.
And so you're celebrating certain sex acts with other people's kids. And I just think right there you've crossed a line.
Well, Pride Week doesn't have to be children, right? When you have the the St. Patrick's Day parade, it's not making people be Irish.
I totally agree.
Right?
I'm talking
parade.
about kids. I'm talking about schools.
You're talking about.
And by the way, I don't have any problem with heterosexual pride, gay pride. People are happy about the way that they live. That's fine. I have a huge problem with schools or governments getting involved in the sexuality of children.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
But every school does it.
Their
There's
job-
not one school that doesn't have
Their job is to keep
gay
everybody safe.
promotion. No, but it's not safe. It's promoting it.
No, I got you. I get
Yeah.
what would bother you. I'm saying their job is to keep kids safe, which means if my kid is gay, your kid can't beat him up on that basis. That's the role of the school. That's the rule of the law. Is, you know, people have to be able to live and be free and safe. It's different to you trying to teach my kid to be gay. If that's going on, obviously it would be a problem.
I mean, I think if
I've never experienced that.
a massive percentage of middle schoolers are gay.
So Cuomo is just not an honest guy, if you ask me. I think he will change his opinion depending on who he is talking to, and also depending on what the current climate is. Check this clip out.
I am black. I am gay. I am disabled.
Sorry guys, wrong clip. That's his brother. Let's check out the real clip.
The whole bathroom issue that we had established a baseline of certain understandings that people want to believe that trans people are pretenders. And this isn't a real thing, so they're phonies. And therefore, creepy guys who are pedophiles will walk into girls' rooms in schools and attack them. And that has literally been demonstrated to be a complete non-thing that you would have to search.
When a 14-year-old boy allegedly sexually assaulted a 15-year-old girl at Stonebridge High School in Ashburn, according to the local sheriff's office. The victim's family said the assault happened in the girl's bathroom. Deputies charged the boy with 2 counts of forcible sodomy thereafter.
A trans kid is the last kid to want to show you their genitals because they hate the genitals they have.
On October 6th, deputies said another girl was sexually assaulted at Broad Run High School in Ashburn. The Loudoun Commonwealth's attorney revealed Friday the suspect in that case is the same boy who is suspected of assaulting the girl at Stonebridge in May. The school system had transferred him.
So the idea of what I hear all the time is, my 12-year-old daughter's got to go in there and see some guy's junk. You know, like that's what they always say, right? And look, I get it from a caveman perspective of wanting to protect your daughter. You don't want her to go in there, even though it's like as if seeing something like that will forever destroy them. Like that's not what they're looking at on TikTok half the day anyway. But that also has been proven to be not how trans people behave.
So, I mean, you can try and act like you're some voice of reason with this and how you see both sides and you've got this really reasoned take, but you're arguing for boys to go into little girls' bathrooms and men to go into women's bathrooms. And despite the fact that this is just obviously weird and very wrong, there's actually a lot of evidence to suggest that these incidents have occurred. And no sane person wants every single woman in the country to be living in a situation where they always kind of have to watch over their shoulder to make sure that 6'3" Bob, who gets turned on by wearing a skirt, isn't going to be in their bathroom or in their changing room, which is actually a very vulnerable and isolated position in many cases.
I'm not. How can you tell me I'm not a transgender?
No, you're not.
Don't tell me I'm not a transgender, because I am a transgender.
Plus, I mean, speaking of his brother before, with that clip that I accidentally put in there, his political grift when he thought it was trendy at the time was to be the most progressive governor on planet Earth when it comes to LGBTQ. But Chris, in this clip here, just said he's never seen the indoctrination. He's never seen this happen.
I am proud to be the governor of the state of New York that has done, this state has done more than any state in the United States to advance the rights of the LGBTQ community, period. And Chad is right, from the first big state to pass marriage equality, to opposing conversion therapy, to opposing the gay panic defense, to more appointments of LGBTQ people than ever before. We lead the way, and we are the resistance to what they're doing. And every step they take, we're going to take an equal and opposite step towards equality.
So Chris had no idea where this was happening, but all of this time, it was just right under his nose. Isn't it funny how those things work? And guys, Chris Cuomo would be doing the exact same thing if he didn't sort of realize that the cultural pendulum is swinging the other way. And in order to stay relevant, he needs to take what appears to be a sane and logical middle ground position. Because if you do what Don Lemon's done, which is just do the same thing you did on CNN, but try and do it on YouTube, we've seen what's happened to him. He's begging for interviews and he's completely irrelevant.
Neighbor, what's up? How you doing? Great. How are you? Let me ask you something. You're not. Oh, it's easy. Oh, come on. It's great now. Your #1 all-time Super Bowl act. Who would you like to see? Oh, Bruno Mars, baby. Gronk. That's it. Bruno Mars. We love you, Gronk.
So, not a fan of Chris Cuomo. However, I will say I have to give him credit for the most iconic interview of all time, bar none, with a girl who has Tourette's syndrome, allegedly. I think it could be bullshit, but maybe I'm too cynical. Let's reminisce on this clip that I watch every time I feel slightly down.
And what do you hope you can do by taking the risks that you take so people can understand what you're dealing with?
I'm sorry, do you mind repeating the question? Fuck off.
What do you want people to learn?
I want people to learn that Tourette's is a neurological involuntary motor and vocal disorder. Fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. I don't tick 24/7, and there's a lot of little baby weenies. Fuck off. Fuck you, Chris. There's a lot of things that people don't understand. Like, I've had parents reach out to me asking me, oh, my son's coming home with a girlfriend and his girlfriend has Tourette's syndrome. So, and then I also get very evil people that would comment and say, like, go fuck yourself, Chris, little baby weenie, blam up your ass, butter your own biscuit, fat ass, that have told me that my parents deserved to die in a car accident because I'm faking my condition, or people have told me that, like, I've had to have the police at my house because people gave out my location and said they were going to come torch my house. Like, it's crazy.
Here's the thing. Clinically, people suck, and they're mean, and they're stupid, and they try to make themselves feel better by going after others. Okay. And you are the antidote, my young friend, because you have my kids.
So, I mean, can't blame her. If my thoughts came out unfiltered like that, I'd probably say something similar. Anyways, guys, I'm going to try and be a serious person for the rest of this video as we look at some wild claims made by Tucker about the US weapons being sold by the Ukrainians on the black market.
There's no authority. He doesn't have democratic authority over his country. What he has is a lot of NATO weapons. And to your second point, he has absolutely, as a matter of fact, the Ukrainian military has sold those weapons on the black market around the world. And they have these are facts. They've wound up in the hands of, among others, the Mexican drug cartels, the Taliban, Hamas in Gaza. Fact. And a lot of other groups. And it's incredibly destabilizing, by the way. The United States did this years ago in Afghanistan, as you know, and sent a bunch of Stinger missiles to the Mujahideen in 1979 and 80 to fight the Soviets. And those missiles caused huge problems for all of Southwest Asia for like 20 years. And so this is a big deal. And I don't know why people feel like they have to lie about it now.
I don't know that it's about lying about it. I don't agree that those are facts.
You don't believe that the Ukrainian military, you know what?
I'll tell you why.
I'll bet you my car that in the next
What kind of car is it?
Well, it's some crappy.
Oh, then I'm not going to bet that.
Okay. No, I don't have nice cars. I'll admit that. Oh, I've never bought a new car.
I do. So we're not doing a swap.
Okay. But anyway, the point is, that's and as no one believes me. I know someone who bought some of the weapons. I'm just, whatever. I can't.
Well, first of all, you would have to substantiate, who it is that you knew, because.
Do you believe the most corrupt country in Europe, which is so corrupt that NATO didn't want it as a member, you believe it's outside the realm of possibility that facing defeat, the leaders of that military would not sell the weapons that they're getting from the West?
You cannot substantiate a claim on the basis of mere suspicion. That because
it's not mere suspicion.
Hold on a
I
second.
know someone who bought some of the weapons.
I believe that you think that. What I'm saying
I don't think that. I know it.
I'm saying that, well, you know that they say it. You don't know whether they did. And I'll tell you why I'm suspicious. Because the missiles that Russia put out those pictures of were from like 2014, and they didn't even have javelins then. So the idea that Ukraine could have been selling weapons that were taken from a different time as an obvious ploy by Russia to make them look bad is, to me, propaganda and not proof that they did it.
Okay.
Are you texting while I'm having a conversation with you?
I'm texting right now.
Very
with someone.
rude.
No,
Very
I'm texting
rude.
on WhatsApp right now on this exact subject.
Tucker, I'm not saying you're lying. I'm saying I'm disagreeing that it's a fact that the military there is spending weapons that they very much need to Mexican cartels. Why does Mexico's cartels need to get weapons from Ukraine when they get them across our border with straw buyers all the time? I mean, to me, it doesn't even make sense from a practicality standpoint, but it seems
buyers? You can get surface-to-air missiles from straw buyers?
No, not surface-to-air missiles. Not small arms.
Right.
Small arms.
No, small arms. You can buy anywhere. No, I'm talking about weapons systems.
But this is not documented stuff, and it seems to want to smear Ukraine to make them the bad guy and make Russia the good guy.
Ukraine. Okay. This is one of those topics that I'm just gonna. I'm
not mad at you.
No.
It's a conversation.
I'm mad because I know this is true. Because
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't know.
It's a fact, and unfortunately, I can't. And maybe I shouldn't have brought it up because I can't name the person who told me
I don't want you to expose a source.
I'm not going to.
What I'm saying is, look, people.
Let me bottom line it by
bad
saying
things with money that we give them.
I have a huge amount of knowledge on this one topic. I'm wholly ignorant of many topics. I know a lot about this topic.
And you think Zelensky's a bad guy who's a dictator?
What I'm telling you is the Ukrainian military has sold huge amounts of American-supplied, NATO-supplied weapon systems around the world, and that they're purchasable now by governments and armed groups and are being purchased.
And why hasn't it been documented?
I'm just telling you that if this will be documented, and I got that directly once again from someone who purchased quite a few of those weapons, who I know personally, and in another country, and knows a lot about this. It runs a military, and it's just frustrating because I can't say beyond that.
So this is not a new claim that Tucker's making here, and for people who have been watching this pretty closely, there have been a few commentators who have suggested that Ukraine has been doing this, taking the US aid, taking these weapons and then reselling them on the black market for profit. And actually, Tucker has mentioned this a few times on his show before, so let's have a look at an example of that when he was talking to Daniel Davis.
Alps, which is probably the most expensive town in the world. I was not there to ski, for the record. But the whole town is Ukrainian. All the visitors are Ukrainian, and they're rolling into Air Maze and dropping $1 million in an afternoon. Okay, so it's all through Europe. You see this. The richest people are the Ukrainians. That money is ours. It belongs to me and you and every other American taxpayer. That's where it's going. Second fact, not guess. Fact is the Ukrainian military is selling a huge percentage, up to half of the arms that we send them. Half. And I'm not guessing about this. I know that for a fact. Okay, not speculation. And they're selling it, and a lot of it's winding up with the drug cartels on our border. So this is a crime. What's happening? Our intel agencies are fully aware of this. You tell me they're not profiting from this. Of course, you think the CIA is not profiting from this? Yes, they are.
So when you think about it, it really is a wild claim that these weapons that are being given to the Ukraine as aid by the United States are being sold on the black market and then given to cartels and other groups that are working directly against the interests of the United States. Talk about decisions coming back to bite you on the ass. But we shouldn't be that surprised by this because we know and we knew before Ukraine became a shining beacon of democracy around the world and a perfect country that we should give all of our money to, people kind of knew that Ukraine was the hub of trafficking in the entire world. It's a hub of child trafficking, human trafficking, narcotics trafficking, weapons trafficking, and much more. And sometimes, guys, in case you haven't noticed yet, government and organized crime are not as opposed to one another or as distant from one another as they sometimes make it out that they are. So anyways, I mean, it kind of looks like Tucker's sitting on something here. Maybe it's a conversation that he's just had in his personal life, or maybe it's an interview that he's done or is going to do, but I guess time will tell. So if you enjoyed this, guys, don't forget to smash the like and subscribe right below. And if you would like to watch another video, right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is Rattlesnake TV, keeping you armed and dangerous.